The Harmattan drifted across the Sahel like a ghost of fire and bone, smearing the dawn with a harsh bronze tint. At the edge of the military airstrip outside Ouagadougou, Captain turned, President Ibrahim Traoré stood still, the wind needling into his cheeks. The city slumbered behind Hemet's tin roofs, hushed and half-drowned in dust. Yet from the tower, foreign voices crackled over the radio, requesting permission for a private jet to land. 27 minutes. They said the aircraft carried special envoys. Men from capitals drenched in marble and climate control, sent to dictate terms to a land they'd never truly touched. Their feet had never blistered on the soil of Burkina Faso. Their lungs had never coughed in Harmattan. Yet here they came, expecting obedience. Traoré's boots dug into the rust-rayed earth. A memory surfaced. His father stooped under a fading sky in Nuna, receiving sacks of moldy rice from foreign aid workers. Ibrahim, still a boy then, had tugged his sleeve, baffled by the gratitude expected of them. His father had whispered through clenched teeth, "No one feeds you for free. Stand tall, son." That sentence stayed in him like shrapnel. Behind him, Lieutenant Ro Wedriago shuffled, holding a folder thick with briefing notes. "Mon President," he began, voice catching awkwardly on the title. "They insist on the VIP lounge? They refuse to meet outside." Traoré didn't flinch. "Then let them refuse alone." His voice carried the weight of his father's ghost. "We don't host guests who dictate everything. They can stand in the wind like everyone else." The jet landed with surgical grace, its silver wings slicing the dust like a blade. 3 men descended, wrapped in suits that had never known sweat or struggle. Their leader smiled with polished ease, the kind that never reached the eyes. In crisp French and smoother English, he spoke of development, partnership, and mutual growth. But his gaze betrayed him slipping past the president, locking onto the line of local soldiers across the tarmac. Mismatched fatigues, threadbare boots, eyes that didn't blink. Boys, mostly. Men made early. Then came the real reason for the visit, a signed agreement, one that demanded control of gold, concessions under the guise of security, 80% of all profits, siphoned abroad, wrapped in threats, sanctions, credit freezes, diplomatic friction. Traoré took the papers, but didn't read them. He didn't need to. "My people dig those mines," he said calmly. "They bleed so, your bracelets shine. Carry your offer back. We will not kneel." The envoy's grin died. "You misunderstand," he hissed. "Leverage. Leverage," Traoré said softly. "Doesn't frighten a man who remembers famine." The headlines came before sundown. French media labeled him dangerous. American op-eds mocked him as a populist flamethrower. Credit agencies revised Burkina's outlook from weak to critical. Aid shipments slowed to a trickle. A grain convoy bound for the north was stopped for inspection. Families rationed cassava leaves. Anonymous accounts online spread rumors, claims of hidden wealth in Dubai, whispers of Russian mercenaries in the savannah. Protesters appeared outside the assembly. A viral video showed a woman crying over her infant's empty bottle, blaming the president's pride for their hunger. A week later, Traoré visited a district hospital in Kubri. Power outages had darkened the maternity ward. Nurses fanned babies with cardboard to keep the mosquitoes off. The fuel for the generator had never arrived, held up at a border for security. Mothers wept. That night, alone in his quarters, he knelt not to France, not to Washington, but beside his bed. "God," he whispered, "can a captain carry a country?" When he rose, his knees ached, but his spine felt carved from ironwood. At 4 a.m. the IMF landed. They brought spreadsheets, memos, restructuring demands. "Sign, or the capital flees." They said. Traoré said nothing. He opened his laptop, pulled up satellite images of the Annada gold site. That stretch, he pointed, was forest 5 years ago. Now stripped bare by a company that never declared operations. That's where our taxes vanish. Later that day, he met with the miners' syndicate. Men with hands like Bart. They spoke of cave-ins, missing wages, silence bought with signatures they couldn't read. One elder, Salif, gripped Traoré's wrist. "Promises are wind, Ibrahima," he said. "Prove you bleed for us." The nation groaned under pressure. Embassies recalled staff. Fuel prices doubled. Breadlines curved like serpents through Ouagadougou. In Bobo Dioulasso, cotton workers threatened to strike. His approval plummeted. Then it happened. A convoy carrying vaccines to the Sahel was ambushed. 6 medics killed. Their truck, torched. Nothing left but ash and disbelief. Accusations flew. Some said Traoré's policy had invited insurgents. Others called it a staged crisis, a ploy to justify foreign contracts. That night in the war room, Traoré sat still. His heart pounded like war drums. Maybe he had been wrong. Then Colonel Mariam Tapsoba burst in, her uniform stained with dust, eyes blazing. She dropped a scorched flash drive on the table. "We found this at the ambush site," she said. "It belonged to a private contractor. Foreign, they filmed the attack." The footage played. Masked gunman. One slipped. His tattoo revealed the contractor's logo. A voice off camera. "Acceptable casualties. Record the panic." Traoré felt bile rise. Children had gone unvaccinated. 6 medics dead for leverage. He called a cabinet meeting before dawn. The footage played again. Some ministers wept. One vomited. When it ended, Traoré spoke. This is not diplomacy. This is slaughter dressed in protocol. He summoned the envoy to the palace courtyard. No chairs, no shade, only cameras. He handed over a sealed diplomatic pouch. We will prosecute those responsible. Any obstruction will be treated as hostility. The envoy stammered about classified agreements. Our medic's blood rewrote those, Traoré replied, and walked away. The world shook. Screens lit up. Burkina Faso accuses Western firm of war crimes. Stock markets dipped. In Europe, an MP demanded an inquiry. Then the whistleblowers came. Emails, contracts, years of sabotage and economic coercion. Exposed. At home, the streets changed. People who once cursed his name now nodded in silence. He walked alone to visit the families of the slain medics. No guards, just a notebook. He knelt again, not in submission, but in sorrow. He promised school for the orphans, dignity for the lost. Death threats followed. Midnight calls? Advisors urged exile. I will not kneel in fear either, he told his lieutenant, handing him a sealed letter. Inside, not just the footage, but decades of secrets. Offshore accounts, timber fraud, corrupt ministers, compiled by hackers calling themselves Lavier, the Watchman. He took the dossier to Addis Ababa to the Pan-African Summit. No entourage, just Colonel Tapsoba and truth. He spoke not with bombast but with the grief of a man who had held a grieving nurse's hand. He named names. He played the footage. He showed the draft treaty 3,400 square kilometers of lithium, ready to be signed by a puppet. The hall fell still. This, he said, voice trembling, is why the convoy burned. Not for peace, for profit. Applause cracked like thunder. A Nigerian delegate called for a tribunal. The African Union voted. Corporate crimes would face judgment. Back home, sanctions talk dried up. The world watched. Burkina's currency steadied. Trade returned. In classrooms, children painted vaccine trucks with angel wings. From tears, we rise. Farmers sent millet in woven baskets. For the road we sow together. And one evening Traoré returned to his boyhood village. The old she tree still stood. Dust swirled. He knelt, pressed a palm into the stubborn soil. Heard his father in the wind, stand tall, son. He stood. Weeks later, another convoy rolled north, this one guarded by local troops. The trucks bore white flags, marked dignant, villagers clapped. Children danced. And in Ouagadougou, where foreign boots once demanded rugs, women now sold mangoes and cloth. That night, Traoré addressed the nation. Power born of kneeling is a leash. Power born of standing is a bridge. We choose the bridge. No fireworks, no easy victory, but something unshakable had changed. A people, once bent under weight, had remembered how to rise. And each morning, as the Harmattan whistled through the eaves and painted the skies bronze, the children of Burkina Faso walked to school heads high, feet dusty, hearts free.